Our next speaker was actually quite fed up with not having relevant compensation data for the startups. And that was causing like a lot of unfairness and a lot of discussions and a lot of inequality within the organizations he worked for. So he started Figures, and with Figures he is on a mission to get more equal pay within the start and scale-up organizations, and also that start and scale-up organizations can have access to actual benchmark data and how to pay their employees. So, Virgil, I'm a bit of a fangirl, but please take the stage.
Hello, everyone. As Yara said, I've been working in HR for 11 years, right? The last 2, I was HR director for a small startup in France, and I grew really tired of having no reliable data to build my compensation policy on. And this is what led me to create Figures, right? I was like, I'm tired of having no compensation data. I don't know if the offers I'm making to my candidates and employees are fair or not. I keep having challenges with those employees and candidates saying, no, I'm sorry, but 60K is not fair, 70K is what market average. I was like, no, I don't think so. I've talked to my colleagues. They say 60 is fair. So, well, my cousin is telling me 70 is fair, and I grew tired of those exchanges, right? Some of those exchanges we might be having right now, and I feel the pain for you. I've had those for a few years. This is when I decided to create Figures nearly 2 years ago now, October 2020, right? And you're like, okay, that's a cool story, Virgil. Or not so cool, in fact, but why are you talking to us today? Plus, we don't understand half of the word you're saying with your French accent, right? So why are you talking to us? Because very early on, when we started gathering data, I realized we could have an impact beyond providing compensation benchmark data to companies, right? And in fact, the topic of my thesis, of my end of studies, I did a Master 2 in human resources, right? So, like probably some of you here. It was a gender pay gap. And when I started having data from like 20, 30, 50, 60 companies back then, I was like, I think there's something cool to do. There's something cool to do. First, to actually help companies measure their gender pay gap. Because I think Sophie talked about it previously, like 75% of them saying, yep, no issue in our company, no gender pay gap, right? But most of them don't actually measure them. Some of them because I think they're sure they don't have an issue, right? But all right. Some of them because they actually just don't know where to start from, right? Some of you are in the small companies, you have like 20 topics to tackle per day. Measuring the gender pay gap is one of those 20 topics, one of those 50 topics. It's hard, you don't have the tools, you don't have the capacity, and we're like very early on, we think we can help those companies measure their gender pay gap within their companies. It was one of the first things we did for 4 or 5 months within the creation of the company. The second thing we did, right, and once again referring back to Sophie's point of what can we do as an organization, what can we do as an individual, is use the data we have to be transparent towards everyone. To be transparent towards the main public about the data we have, about the state of gender equality and the state of gender pay gap in Europe, and especially as we are still working mainly with startups and scale-up, the state of gender equality and the gender pay gap within this ecosystem. Because the same Peter we talked about previously might be like, yeah, I know about the gender pay gap, right, but not in startups. You know, startups, they're so innovative, they're all fair. There's no gender pay gap in startup, clearly. Well, this is where we get to what we've released, which is the state of gender equality in European startup. You have some of the flyers we distributed. We are being very transparent with the data we have to show that, no, sadly, there is an issue, even in startups, even in companies that are relatively recent, relatively new, in theory quite progressive, the issue is still there. And we're going to dive into some of those numbers. But first of all, where does the data come from? The data, we don't just scrape or access public data, we get data from our clients, right? We get data directly from our clients, directly from their HR systems. So this is real, reliable data we're basing this analysis on, right? So we're having, as of today, in fact, 77, wow, I think we have 780 client companies sharing data with us. We have some of the names there. And really the first point is, once again, this is data coming from companies themselves. This is as reliable and as up-to-date as it comes, because it comes mainly from their HR system. Now let's dive a bit into the data. First thing, gender pay gap. So this is European-wide data. Then once we have enough of a data set, we have produced for the UK, we have produced for Germany, we're going to release soon, and for France, country-specific gender equality report to deep dive into what the situation is into specifically this country. The data we're going to look at now is European-wide data. First thing, gender pay gap. So it ties to some of the numbers that Sophie was showing previously. I think you mentioned 36% in the Netherlands. What we call the unadjusted pay gap, we just look at like median salary of men, median salary of women, all roles, all seniority level. We have a gap of 22%, meaning on average, men earns 22% more than women. But then, getting back to comparing apples to apples, right? Yes, but this is on different roles and so on. We have the most precise information possible because we have information on the role people are on, the seniority level people are on, and the location in which they occupy those roles, right? So when we compare people who are holding the exact same role within the exact same seniority level and the exact same location, so we're looking at senior product manager in Amsterdam, both men and women. Still, when we adjust for role, when we adjust for time worked, we still have a 3.9%, what we call the adjusted pay gap. So no, even in the startup world, even in the startup ecosystem, on the exact same roles, there's still a pay gap between men and women, even in companies that have been created 1, 2, 3, 4 years ago, right? So we're seeing the same effects, some of the root causes that Sophie talked about previously, still have a role, still have an impact within this world. The second point is representation, is the glass ceiling effect, right? The glass ceiling effect in number. What do you see here? If you look on the left, we have various seniority levels when it comes to management level within figures, right? It starts with supervisor, which is the first level of management, up to C-level, so the highest level of management within the company. What do you see? Representation of women slowly, gradually, keeps going lower and lower as we go up the food chain. What was this? The 6th layer of white men, right? You see that in a number, like straight away. There's actually an equal 50-50 split at the supervisor level. When you get to the C-level roles, only 17% of women. So that is one of the areas that needs to be worked on. And for you, for those who are like organizational leaders or HR leaders and people leaders within this room, one of the areas you can have a direct impact on, and are you being really fair and just when you are during your promotion processes, for example, is one area when you can have a big impact. I think there's a lot of work to be done in this area. On the right, you see the various C-level roles, right? And representation of women within those C-level roles. You might not be shocked that the role with the highest representation of women, Chief Human Resources Officer, or Chief People Officer now, as we're transitioning towards this new acronym, which happens to be what? The least paid role on average amongst executive roles, once again, as Sophie mentioned in the past. So of course, the role on which there's the most women, of course, ends up being the least paid role. Even though this is changing quite a bit, and I think we see a trend of this, the average salary and median salary in this role going up, still, the role with by far the most women in, the least paid role. And when we get to, I think, CTO, it's like 3%. Yep. CTO, on average, with chief CEO or chief sales officer, the highest paying role, 3% of women. So glass ceiling effect in number, right here in our data set. One big issue we have, right, and that's as long as this number remains true, and this is a very startup specific, well, kind of a startup specific number, but we have within our data set only 8.7% amongst founders of companies who are women. And that ties to many issues. Like we know that like VC money, investor money, tends to be driven towards mostly male-only founding teams. There's a clear underrepresentation of companies who are funded by women or partially funded by women who receive any types of funding. And this is what we see in our data. And as long as this remains true, this is going to be an issue because, of course, what happens, When you have a all-male founding team, that tends to be a lot less attractive for potentially women to step in. Plus, it tends to create an environment which might be a bit hostile for women as well. So one of the first steps to create healthier company or irresistible companies, right, organization, is to work on that number. Most of this, there's a lot of ways to work on this. There's a lot of action that needs to be taken at the investor level to improve this, but this is a big, big issue. As long as this remains true, we're going to have a big issue in terms of diversity. Then, once again, I mean, we're not reinventing the wheel here. We're talking about representation of women per job type. What is the job family with the highest representation of women? General administration roles, right? Which, I think you've guessed it by now, tends to be the least paid job family, right? And then when you get to the right, engineering and other tech is like non-software engineering, but mostly engineering role, are the highest paid role within our data set. And once again, representation of women is what, 30% in engineering in total. So once again, we see the reflection in our data set of the common issues that we see in the rest of the labor market, in the rest of the entire sector, underrepresentation of women into the highest paying role, overrepresentation of women in the roles that tend to pay the less. All of those numbers, right, that I showed you in the past, I think you have all of them into the flyers, are publicly accessible, and we commit on pushing some transparency in this sector, because we think that transparency is once again one of the first points that we mentioned earlier on. We think transparency is going to bring accountability, and it's going to bring change to the ecosystem. So we want to commit into being as transparent as possible in general when it comes to compensation data, but specifically under this gender equality issue, because we think it's going to contribute to awareness, it's going to contribute to more accountabilities from founders, including Peter. This is why it leads me to my next and last slide, because I don't want to kill you with data at the end of this speech. We've partnered with 7 people, and we're very happy to be partnering with 7 people. Very happy to have this event here. I feel very proud of being on this stage, especially after those people who spoke before me, in order to bring you with the best compensation data possible in the Netherlands. So this is why we still have an offer with 7 people. If you join on board figures, we are building the data set in the Netherlands to bring you the most reliable and up-to-date compensation data possible, an efficient way for you to finally, if you haven't done so, measure your internal gender pay gap and measure it over time, because you're going to be able to see the evolution of your internal gender pay gap. Amongst other KPIs, we also track things such as representation of women in management within your own company, representation of women within the top earners of your company, the top 10% highest earning roles. So we've set up a list of KPIs that we will help you measure now, we will help you measure over time, plus by potentially joining us, and as a reminder, this is free for now, and it won't remain free forever. You get 12 months of free for free if you join soon. You're also contributing to this public-facing data set that hopefully will improve awareness, once again, will improve accountability within the whole ecosystem. I won't spend much more time on this. Once again, I'm conscious that you've had a lot of presentation, and I'm throwing a lot of data at you, and I think we're going to move over, Yara, to the next part and the panel, right? We are.